Good morning, CSE students. Happy Wednesday. I'm just going to go over a couple examples about if-else statements to help you out with these 3.1 through whatever I gave you for this first part of this week. So if you remember in Python and really in all kinds of programming, if-else statements work on checking some condition to decide if it's true or false. If it's true, it'll enter the if statement. Otherwise, it'll proceed on. So I'm going to do an example here. I'm just going to do A equals input. So that's going to read an input from the user. Remember, input always returns a string. If it's going to be a number, we'd have to convert it to an int. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it as a string. So the format for an if statement, we start with if, and then we put the condition here. So I'm just going to say if A is equal to the letter Y. So that's checking what the user entered if it was Y. And if I wanted to give them a message, enter a Y. Enter a Y, N, or X. I don't know, just something. So I say if, and then right here, I have to have something that can evaluate to true or false. So we can evaluate if what the user entered was a Y. If it is, I always end with a colon here. Colon defines that I'm starting a new block. A block is defined by indentation. So everything that's indented inside of this if statement will happen if the user inputted Y. So I'm just going to print you said yes. Good positive attitude. Now, if they were only going to be able to enter two things, I could just do an else here. An else will run if this was false. So if they didn't enter a Y, you entered something you weren't asked to. Now, if I want to have multiple checks all changed together, I use what's called an else if. In Python, we define that by elif. And again, I'm going to have a condition here. Elif A is equal to N. And in this case, I'll print, I don't know, why so negative. And I can have as many else ifs as I want. Elif A is equal to X. You entered X. I don't know why. Now, a lot of beginning programmers tend to just do a bunch of if statements. They'll say if A equals Y, if A equals N, if A equals X. If all of the checks are related to each other, which in this case they are because we're all checking what A is equal to, it's better to do them chained together like this with else ifs. And what will happen as soon as one of these is true, it won't check the rest of them. So if A is Y, it'll print this and it'll just skip over all of that. If you did a bunch of if statements in a row, it would check every single one. So you'll get a little bit better performance and just code that makes more sense if you use else ifs. The other advantage of else ifs is you can always have the else at the end, which says, okay, none of the ones before matched, print this. So if I run, enter a Y, enter X, if I enter Y, enter N, if I enter X, and then if I enter anything else. So you're going to use this basic idea on this set of problems. I'm going to do the first one for you. So this says, given an integer, print odd if it's odd and print even otherwise. So the thing to remember here is the mod operator. We can check if a number is even if we divide it by 2 and the remainder is 0. It's odd if we divide it by 2 and the remainder is 1. So I'm just down here in the interpreter, I'm just going to show you an example. If I take 6 mod 2, that is 0. So that's even. 7 mod, percent is mod 2, that's 1. So that's odd. So I'm going to read in the user's input, store it in A, and I'm going to say if A divided by 2, get the remainder. If that's 0, I'm going to print even. I think I was saying positive and negative. I meant even and odd. A little slow this morning. So if it's not even, it's odd. And that should do it. Yep, that passes all the tests. Now, I could also have said if A mod 2 is 1, then it's odd. Otherwise, it's even. It's the same end result. So that gets you through the first one. Let's see what their model solution looked like. Yeah, it looked almost the same. They just didn't store their input in a variable first. So now I'm going to go back. Just want to peek at the second one. Given 2 integers, print the least of them. So you're going to have 2 input statements. A equals int of input, B equals int of input. And then you can say if A is less than B, print A, else print B. I don't know why my screen, there we go. Sign function for the given integer x, print 1 if it's positive, negative 1. So they tell you to use an if, else. You can just check if x is greater than 1. Well, it's not going to be x. It's going to be a, unless I rename my variable to be x, which would be fine. Check if it's greater than 0. It's positive. You're going to print 1. If it's equal to 0, that could be your else if. You're going to print 0. And if it's negative, you'll print negative 1. Given an integer, print yes if it's a 3-digit number and print no otherwise. Well, a 3-digit number is greater than or equal to 100 and less than or equal to, or less than 1,000. So you could just do that check. That'd be the easiest way. Single positive given 2. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Given 2 non-zero integers, print yes if one of them is positive and print no. So you'll read in A and B and you will just do a check. If A is positive and B is negative, or if the opposite of that, then you'll know what to print. Now, just as a reminder, I'm going to jump back to here. We do have logical operators in Python, ands and ors. So if A is Y, or I can do 2 checks. A is, I don't know, 7. Now, if I enter 7, so remember, ors means one or the other has to be true. And would mean they both have to be true, which in this case is impossible. I can't enter 2 different things for A, so this would never happen. But as far as this problem where you have A and B, you'll have B equals input, and you'll want to make those integers on that problem. Delete all this for now. I want to say if A is greater than 0 and B is less than 0, so that would be that one of them is positive, or A is less than 0 and B is less than, or B is greater than 0. That would do that check. Now, if I want to make it easier to see, I can always put these in parentheses. So I can wrap that, and then I can wrap like this to make it clear what order of operations these are going to go. Remember, we have PEMDAS. So this would be One of these is negative. So now I could enter some numbers, 4, -4. But if I entered two positive numbers, it's just going to print nothing. So that should help you with 3.5, 3.6. Given a 3-digit integer consisting of 3 different digits, print yes if the 3 digits are going in ascending order from left to right, and print no otherwise. This is the hardest one because I have to get each of the digits. Now, you did this back on the numbers one, if you can remember. So if I read in a number and I want to get the digits, I need to be able to get the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place. Those are the 3 digits. To get the ones place, I need to separate out the first digit on the right. To get the tens, I need to separate this one out. And to get the 100, I need to separate this one out. So you're going to do these with division and mod. So we did a lot of these back on those numbers problems, which I believe were 2 point something. Numbers like sum of digits. This was an example. Given a 3-digit number, find the sum of the digits. So if you got those, you could definitely look back and see how you did those. But here's an example. This was a 2-digit. If we want to get the first digit, so that's the tens place, we can divide with integer division by 10. And the second digit, we can mod by 10. Now let's try that over here. If I take a 3-digit number, 1, 2, 3, and I do integer division by 10, that actually gets me the first 2 digits. So that doesn't quite work here because it's a 3-digit number. Integer division by 100, though, will give me the hundreds place. So if I want the hundreds place, I can say A integer division 100. Now, if I mod by 10, so that's going to divide 10 in there and give me the remainder. That's going to give me the ones place. So 1 is equal to A mod 10. I need to get the tens place. So to get the tens place, let's try a couple things. If I divide by 10, that gave me the first 2. That's not quite what I want. I could do divide by 10 and then mod by 10. That would get me the tens place. And this would work for any 3-digit number. So there are more than one way to accomplish these, but that will work. Oops, I thought I copied it. Remember, integer division. Nah, it doesn't want to do it. Divides by and cuts off the remainder or the decimal place. Oh, and this isn't supposed to be A. This is supposed to be tens. Now that I have those places, I would be able to say, are they in ascending order? So ascending order means that the hundreds place is less than the tens place, and the tens place is less than the ones place. So I'll leave that to you to try to check it out. So give these a try. Please reach out if you have questions. I'm glad to help. I can do individual Google Meet sessions if you need them. I'm happy to answer questions through email. So definitely reach out if you need something. Have a good week.